Let's now look at the immediate and long-term consequences of childhood stunting on health and development. For women, stunting is a direct risk factor for complications during pregnancy and delivery and for their baby's survival. Poor nutrition and frequent infection feed on each other, creating for the child a downward spiral of worsening nutritional status and increasing susceptibility to infection and diseases. Infection substantially impairs a child's nutritional status. It leads to reduced appetite, loss of energy, and diminished absorption of nutrients. At the same time, available nutrients are diverted from growth towards the immune response needed to fight infection. Poor nutrition can severely affect the developing brain of the fetus and newborn. The stunted child subsequently starts school with a reduced capacity for learning and processing new information. This translates into lower scores on tests of attention, fluency, and working memory. Concurrent infections associated with stunting increase household expenditures on health care. In many cases, affected families are already facing financial difficulties. If the disease or infection is contagious, other children and adults can be put at risk. This is often compounded by additional costs for household members who stay at home to care for the sick child and thus lose wages or school attendance. Stunting ultimately impacts national development because of its health and economic consequences throughout the life cycle and perpetuated from one generation to the next. Individuals who are stunted at 2 years of age are likely to grow up to be stunted adults. For example, a study in Senegal showed differences of 6 to 9 centimeters in the adult heights of previously stunted versus non-stunted children. Among women, stunting, that is, adult height below 145 centimeters, is a consistent risk factor for mortality around the time of delivery because of obstructed labor and birth asphyxia, where babies are unable to breathe at birth. For individuals who as children are short for their age, the risk of chronic disease in later life apparently increases if they gain weight rapidly after the age of 2 to 3 years. Several studies have demonstrated that impaired functional development of the brain experienced in early life in association with stunting persists in later life. For example, adults in Guatemala who had been stunted at age 3 had lower scores on tests of vocabulary and nonverbal cognitive ability compared to individuals who had not been stunted. Another study in 5 developing countries showed that adults who were stunted at age 2 completed about 1 year less of schooling compared to non-stunted individuals. Stunting has important economic consequences for individuals, households, and communities. Poor nutrition perpetuates the cycle of poverty and malnutrition through 3 main routes: direct losses in productivity as a result of poor physical health related to malnutrition and disease, indirect losses from poor cognitive development and less time spent in school, and increased health care costs for infectious and chronic diseases. Stunted children grow up to earn 20% less in average wages compared to people who are not stunted. The economic costs of malnutrition are very high, with gross domestic product losses estimated at several $billion per year. The World Bank estimates that a 1% loss in adult height due to childhood stunting is associated with a 1.4% loss in economic productivity.